The plot revolves around a man named John Wick, who has recently lost his wife to an illness. Following her death, he receives a beagle named Daisy from his late wife, along with a letter urging him to love again. John bonds with the dog, but soon, 3 Russian mobsters cross paths with him, and their actions lead to the death of Daisy. John embarks on a mission of vengeance against the mobsters, and the story takes many twists and turns before its thrilling conclusion. The movie starts with John Wick driving his car and colliding with a wall. He is severely injured and crawls to the side while applying pressure on a wound in his stomach. He watches a video of his wife Helen on the beach before slouching and closing his eyes. The scene then transitions to a few days before the accident when John wakes up with flashbacks of being with Helen. The movie then showcases a flashback of John and Helen at dinner, followed by a shot of them kissing, and finally the moment when she faints in his arms. John is then shown with her in a hospital bed, where he kisses her forehead, and the doctor leaves with a softboard. In the next shot, John is seen with a necklace in his hand, after which he takes out his car. The sequence ends with Helen's funeral, where John stands over her grave as a man watches from AF. After the ceremony, John's old buddy Marcus approaches him and asks how he is holding up. They talk, and Marcus says that he is just checking up on an old friend. He then leaves, and John is shown at home, cleaning up when the bell rings. He opens the door to see a delivery woman standing there, who hands him a package and asks him to sign some papers. It's a little beagle, and Helen has left a letter for John, urging him to love again and start with the puppy. John starts crying while reading the letter, and he takes the dog out from its bin and examines its flower-adorned collar. He realizes that Helen named the dog Daisy and brings the dog some food. John bonds with the puppy and takes it for a drive around the city in his vintage 1969 Ford Mustang Mach 1. He stops to fill up gas, where 3 Russian mobsters, including Iosif Tarasov, the son of crime boss Vigil Tarasov, approach him. Iosif compliments John's car and inquires about the price, but John says it's not for sale. Iosif then abuses John in Russian, saying that everything has a price, bitch. John corrects him by speaking Russian and tells him that not this bitch. Iosif was petting Daisy at the moment, but hearing this, he gets angry and is about to react when one of his friends pulls him back and tells John to have a good day. Later that day, John takes his car to an abandoned construction area and starts drifting all over the place to vent out his frustration. He almost runs into some trucks but stops in time. Daisy must relieve herself while John is getting ready for bed, so he takes her downstairs. 2 shadowy guys stand in front of John, while a third grabs a bat and whacks him in the head. While Daisy whimpers, the man begins to pound on John. One of the men attacks the dog and snaps her neck. One of the men asks to find the keys, and the other responds that he has found them. After taking the keys, the guy removes his disguise, revealing himself to be Iosif. He insults John and asks him to sleep well before knocking him out. After waking up from his slumber, John mourns the death of his beloved dog by caressing her head. Then, he buries her and cleans the mess in his house while reminiscing about his wife and the recent attack. In the meantime, Iosif drives John's Mustang to Aurelio's store to obtain new papers and number plates for the car. However, Aurelio recognizes the car and demands to know where Iosif got it from. Iosif brags about stealing the automobile and killing the owner's dog, but Aurelio hits him in the face and orders him to leave. Later, John visits the shop to inquire about the car and learns that Iosif is the son of Vigil, a former employer of his. Vigil meets with Iosif and reprimands him for his actions before reminding him of John's reputation as Baba Yaga the boogeyman, a man who was summoned to assassinate the boogeyman. Vigil tells Iosif about the time he saw John kill 3 men in a bar with a pencil and warns him of the danger he is in. Despite Iosif's assurances that he can handle the situation, Vigil orders him to stay put, knowing that John will come after him. When Vigil calls John to make amends, John hangs up on him. Later that night, Vigil sends a team of hitmen to John's house to eliminate him, but John kills them all. A police officer arrives at the door, and John informs him that he is simply figuring things out, leading the officer to leave without any suspicion. John calls for a cleanup crew and disposes of the bodies. Vidjo then approaches John's friend Marcus and offers him $2 million to assassinate John. John, however, checks into the New York Continental Hotel, which caters exclusively to the criminal underworld and permits no assassinations on its premises, where he will remain for the duration of his business trip. Perkins is someone he recognizes. Winston, the manager and owner of the Continental, is another old buddy of John's. Upon Winston's suggestion, John visits the Red Circle nightclub to confront Iosif. Iosif and his friends are having fun at the club when John walks in. There, he runs into an old friend, and after telling him to take the day off, the friend thanks him. Iosif is enjoying a night of champagne and ladies in a luxurious Russian bathhouse when John murders one of his guys and approaches via the club's bottom floor. When they notice John, he begins firing at them, and Iosif runs away. John eliminates every hitman who stands in his way. However, as he leaves, he misplaces Iosif in a getaway vehicle. John returns to the Continental, where he is treated for his injuries. Marcus watches John from a nearby rooftop and prepares to carry out the assassination. Marcus shoots a warning shot at John, who is sleeping, but fails to kill him. Perkins, an assassin who works for Vidjo, informs John that she will kill him if he does not leave the Continental, but John fights back and knocks her out. He leaves her with Harry for one of their organization's gold coins. Perkins is shackled to a chair by Harry, who is unaware that she has dislocated her thumb and is slipping away. She exits the vehicle and covers Harry's face with a pillow before shooting him. John visits Vidjo's hidden stockpile of cash and business documents in the chapel. Following the shooting of the other guards in the church, John compels the priest to lead him to the vault. He dismisses the ladies in the vault and sets fire to the entire structure. Vidjo hears about the fire just as he is about to be trapped in a barrage of bullets from John. Despite killing the majority of Vidjo's men, he is knocked unconscious when one SUV collides with another, pushing John to the ground. Vidjo apprehends him and questions why he's gone to such lengths for vengeance over a car and a dog. Iosif took the puppy away from John, who claims it was a gift from his dead wife. He also warns Vidjo that he has the option of handing Iosif over to him or dying with him. Vidjo abandons him to his thugs, who suffocate him with a garbage bag. Marcus, on the other hand, is watching from the adjacent building and shoots one of the hitmen in the head, allowing John to take out the other. Only John is left alive as John pulls out his revolver and fires at Vidjo's escape vehicle. Vidjo is forced to inform John that Iosif is hidden at a Brooklyn safe house. Even though the safe house is secured by armed men, John kills them all and storms the property. He destroys all the getaway vehicles with bombs and then catches up to Iosif and puts a bullet in his stomach and then shoots him in the head. Perkins learns that John and Marcus have been in contact and informs Vidjo. So, Vidjo sends his thugs to Marcus' house in retribution for Iosif's death and for failing to kill John. They thrash him there until Vidjo and Perkins arrive and fatally shoot him. Just as Vidjo is about to leave the house, he calls John and tells him that he has killed his friend. Vidjo then leaves for a helicopter that is going to take him away from the city. The plan is that John will come to Marcus's house and Perkins will ambush him. Perkins is summoned to a meeting with Winston, the proprietor of the Continental Hotel, while waiting for John to arrive at Marcus's house. At the Bethesda Arcade in Central Park, she meets Winston and 4 other men. Winston informs her that she has disobeyed Continental's regulations and that her membership has been revoked. The 4 men put her to death. As Winston goes away, he runs across the same cleaner who assisted John in removing the assassin's remains from his home and gives him a few pennies. When John discovers Marcus's body, he sets out to assassinate Vidjo. He spots Vidjo and their men on their way to the chopper and attempts to slam his car into them. Vidjo orders Avi to assassinate John, only for John's automobile to slam into him. Vidjo tries to force John's car off the cliff, but he survives. The two then battle in the rain, hand to hand. Vidjo tries to attack John, but John pulls the blade into himself to generate leverage and break Vidjo's arm, then grabs the knife from his stomach and stabs Vidjo in the neck. He abandons him to his fate. We return to the opening scene, as John continues to bleed. He feels motivated to keep going after seeing the video with Helen. He enters a dog shelter to treat his knife wound. He then adopts a pit bull puppy and brings him home with him.